8, and I'd like to now read her introduction. After 15 years of professional experience in high-profile management and leadership positions, Kristin made a name for herself in the restaurant business. In the past 5.5 years, Kristin has turned that passion into the real estate industry. Kristin is the CEO of the Kristin Stampini team and the CEO of Property Management in Paradise. Her team has a niche in the short sale and foreclosure market. Kristin and her team started doing short sales 4.5 years ago, and previously Kristin was an instructor for the CDPE designation. Kristin feels that education is very important and is a big part of her team's success. Kristin is a real estate coach for Craig Proctor Productions and is honored to have received many awards in the last 5 years. A few are the Rising Star for the Craig Proctor Coaching Program, the Rising Star for the Palm Beach Board of Realtors, the Rising Star for the Palm Beach County Women's Council of Realtors, and the Member Honor Circle Award for the State of Florida's Women's Council of Realtors. Keeping all of that in mind, I'd like to now introduce to you Kristin Stampini.
Thanks to Lydia. She actually does my short sale transactions and has been for the past 4.5 years. When I basically started doing short sales, I worked side by side with her to teach her how, and then now she's done 110 transactions last year. So thank you, Lydia. I want to commend all of you for being here today because you want to learn more about short sales, and they aren't going to be going away anytime soon, as some people hope they would be, but they aren't. Basically, banks are looking to do short sales over foreclosures any day, and you're actually going to see more of them because of the way our economy is. And I do commend all of you for being here to learn the short sale business, because if you're not going to learn the business, please don't put the lives of sellers in jeopardy, okay? So please know the business very well before you actually take a short sale listing. If you don't know it, please don't get involved in it. Take as many trainings as you can. That's what I did, and then I learned firsthand. But it's not fair to the sellers if you don't know how to do a short sale, so please don't get involved unless you know. You have to actually have a big heart to do short sales. You can't just dump in the business because you want to make money, because if that's what you're doing, you're actually not doing it for the right reason. So please make sure you actually have the heart to do the short sales, because it is a process and it is something that's learned over time, and it is very time consuming. And if you're doing it to actually save people from foreclosure is what I do, one home at a time, and I really want to save each and every one of my clients, okay? But thank you for being here today. We're going to talk about a lot of different things. I'm actually going to show you what I do to market listings for short sales. I'm going to show you my consultation that I actually do. I'm going to share how to do a smooth transaction. Also, the robo-signing settlement that just happened a couple weeks ago for $25 billion. I'm also going to share the how to work on a buyer's end to do short sales, and also actually the act that's going to end by the end of this year, 2012. We're going to go into that. So we have a lot to cover today. At the end, please ask me any questions, so please write them down throughout. I'm not going to answer questions until the end, because I might answer them throughout the presentation. So just go ahead and write them down, and then I'll be happy to answer them at the end. Okay? Targeting your marketing. For sale by owners, I send postcards. Okay? Many homeowners that list their homes that are for sale by owners can't afford a commission because they are upside down and have no idea that they are not responsible for commissions. On for sale by owners, you see the signs in there, call them. A lot of them have no idea they're doing for sale by owner because they can't afford the commission, but they are upside down in their home, so give them a call, okay? Postcards to communities built from 2003 on up, and we use, there's bulk mail at 26 cents if you have 200 postcards. So we look at anything, in Florida, at least 2003, if they're new homes. If they didn't put 50% down or they didn't pay cash, what do you think they are? They're probably upside down. So I market to those areas. Postcards in certain zip codes use direct mail. Now there's new direct mail through the U.S. Post Office. that if you send over 200, it's 14. Actually, it just went up, I think, to 14.5 cents. Okay, so you can send a minimum of 200 postcards and direct mail. Google pay-per-click. I target distressed sellers in Google pay-per-click, which is very interesting in how to do it. But what I recommend you doing is going ahead and Google as if you were a short sale, if you were looking for a short sale, somebody to list your short sale, a short sale expert, go ahead and Google different things, and you can come up with a different idea on how you want to actually do your Google pay-per-click. But you just have to play around on it with it, and it works well. Craigslist ads for distressed properties. Mark's very good at that. Okay, my husband works on those. Ask other realtors for referrals. I have a lot of people that actually, a lot of realtors that give me referrals because they either don't want to have anything to do with the short sales, or you know, they don't know how to do it. So I get referrals from a lot of realtors. I conduct seminars for realtors like this. I do this a couple times a year, and and I also get a lot of referrals from lenders and attorneys. I just had an attorney that gave me six listing referrals last week. Conduct seminars for other real estate offices, which I've done in Fort Lauderdale. I've done a few different seminars in different areas, and I've also done a seminar or actually 2 seminars for Women's Council of Realtors and other networking groups. So offer to do that. Now, if you're a specialist, don't do it if you don't. Obviously, you need to know what you're doing to do these. I've done webinars for realtors and homeowners in distress. And when working with buyers, you know, a lot, as we know here in Florida, a year ago we had over 14 months of inventory on the market in South Florida, in Palm Beach County. Today we have just over 6 months. As we see, there is definitely a change in our market, right? So we're looking for homes out there for our buyers, and guess what? We aren't finding them, right? A lot of the time. So what you want to do is you want to send a yellow letter to those neighborhoods, asking them if they'd like to sell their property, and you have a buyer interested in buying. You actually have, it's a yellow notepad, you write it in red, okay? And then you also disclose in it that you are not going after any listing or any properties that are already listed. What you then do is you put it in a little invitation envelope, and you put like a funky, you hand write it, and then you put like a funky stamp on it, like a Garfield stamp or SpongeBob or something like that, so they'll open it. It's very, very effective marketing. Conduct seminars and homeowners in distress. Actually, April 27th, we're starting our Save Your Home Clinic, okay? So, you know, we're doing all sorts of different things to do our marketing, which I got from Tim, thank you. Promote HAFA directly. In your marketing, advertise that if you qualify for HAFA, that you can get $3,000 towards moving expenses and will be released 100% of full deficiency judgments. If you don't know what HAFA is, please go and research it, okay? Because there's a lot of information on HAFA. Ask past clients if they know anybody that may be in distress. We get so many of I have no problem asking people, you think your first-time home buyers love you when you sell them a property? What do you think somebody does when you save them from foreclosure? So we get multiple referrals from people that we've actually saved their homes. Okay, just ask. People are willing. If you don't ask, you're never going to get it. So the task is to ask. Market short sales, foreclosure, defense, bankruptcy, and family law attorneys. That's what we do. And be your local short sale expert. And expired listings. You can go after expired listings. A lot of those are also overpriced, and so they're upside down, so they also need your help. Again, I think it's like, what is it, 82% of people that go into foreclosure never have talked to a real estate agent. Never. So imagine, you know, with how many people out there that we need to reach out to that have never even talked to us. Remember, these people, a lot of them feel like the banks have done things wrong to them. So they don't trust people, you know, but if they come to you and you really, and what I do is, and you're going to see in my consultation, but I also give them all of their options. I don't want them to do a short sale if that's not right for them. If I go over different loan modifications or different things, or, you know, maybe there's all sorts of, I go over 13 different things with them to do. Then if they decide still that this is the best thing for them, It's their decision. It's not ours. We're never going to tell them what's best for them. We're just going to give them their options. And unfortunately, a lot of the time when they call the lenders don't help them with this. So they need us. We can get our name back, because you know that a lot of people think of us as used car salesmen. Let's get our name back up there, and by helping homeowners, we can do that. We create profiles on Realtor.com and all over the internet sites, Zillow, Trulia, Postlets, websites. We create a tab that provides valuable information and show that we have a short sale, that we're short sale experts. Now we don't, because we do traditional sales, okay, so we don't want to just be known as the short sale and foreclosure people, but we have on everything, we show that we actually also do short sales. What I recommend is that you put flyers inside all your listings and have your other listings on the back. Get as many testimonials as you can, especially video testimonials if you can. Testimonials, we try to do is we try to get them actually before the closing, because after the closing they aren't in a rush to give them to you, okay? And then blog about short sales. There's all sorts of different blogging sites that you can go on to and blog about them. And business cards, have different sets of business cards. One business card for short sales, one business card for just anybody, your traditional sales. Different business cards. I mean, what is it? $80, right? Twitter, tweet short sale information to attract sellers in distress. You can actually see people who are on Twitter actually asking about short sales. Go ahead and answer their questions. Also, Facebook, provide information that shows you short sale expertise. We get a lot of business from Facebook, okay? Ad creation, become the lead generating machine. Use scripts, postcards. Try to appeal to every seller in distress. Now, we don't use, which I've tried, and I don't want you to spend so much money on it, we've tried to actually put different postcards and flyers together that say to market towards distressed homeowners. We don't do that. Okay, we just market in the distressed neighborhoods. In a short sale consultation, I didn't used to do it this way. I used to go out to their house and spend about 3 hours with each one of my sellers, hand by hand, took them by the hand and really explained everything to them. And obviously, 3 hours at a time is very challenging. Okay, that's a lot of time, a lot. So now what I do is I do a consultation on the phone, and I get the listing every time on the phone, okay? And this is how my consultation goes. Basically, I have a thorough call with the potential seller, and I find out their motivation and hardship. I go over all the options with them, as I discussed, and I want to find out their motivation, because if they aren't motivated to sell it, I'm not going to list it. I don't think that's fair to put listings on the market when the seller doesn't want to sell it, okay? And a lot of people think that they're going to put their house on the market because it's going to stall the foreclosure, which actually sometimes it really does, but that's not, I mean, it might slow it down a little bit, but I tell them that's not the reason to put your house on the market. Okay, how frustrating is it when you go see it, when you put a short sale offer in, it's been there for 5 months because actually the seller doesn't want to give any information to the bank, right? And so it's just going to continue, and actually the listing agent never asked enough questions, okay, to the seller, and this happens all the time. You have to ask the right questions, you have to find the motivation, and you have to make sure a short sale is right for them. Show them that you're the local short sale expert, and if they decide that the short sale is right for them, you pick and list their property. After the consultation, email the homeowner the entire short sale packet and listing agreement before meeting with them. So basically, I bring them to the office, but I send them the short sale packet and everything, and they actually go through it, and then I answer any questions for them, and they come to the office to sign it, and then we have people that go out to the house to take pictures and measurements. I don't actually go out and do that. These are the questions that I ask them. I ask them questions like, what year was your property purchased? How much did you pay for the property? How much do you owe on the property? A lot of the stuff they can answer for you, and some of the stuff that they don't know, and that's okay too, but as much information as I can get from the phone. And they can tell because of the questions I'm asking them, they're like, wow, nobody's ever asked me this before. You can, I'm showing my knowledge, and people are just like, wow, How much do you owe on the property? Do you know how much the property is worth? A lot of the time they don't, or they might have looked it up on Zillow or something like that, but you need to obviously do your research on that. Are you behind on mortgage payments? If so, how far behind? Sometimes they want to tell you 2 years when it's been 4. So you have to be careful on how far they're behind on mortgage payments. Are you current on your property taxes and insurance? When people ask you questions like, should I pay my mortgage? And they will ask you that all the time. And I always tell them, if you can afford to pay your mortgage, you need to pay your mortgage. I cannot legally tell you not to pay your mortgage. Well, the bank told me that for me to do a short sale, then I have to go behind on your mortgage payments. I said, okay, then the bank told you to do that. I said, then you have to make that decision for yourself, but if you want to do a short sale and the bank told you to do that, then you need to make that decision. But you never, ever, ever want to give them any legal advice, because I'm going to tell you what, in a few years from now, this is going to bite you. Okay, and all these attorneys are going to come running out here to go after all the realtors that did the wrong thing. So make sure that you're getting a hold harmless agreement on every single listing that you're taking. Not that that's going to always hold up, but we do a lot of things to protect ourselves to make sure that we aren't giving any type of legal or tax advice to anybody. Okay, and it's very important that you do that. Are you current on your property tax and insurance? Are you aware of any liens on the property? Okay, because sometimes they are, sometimes they aren't. You know, how far are they behind on their HOA? Are you current on your HOA payments? If not, how far behind are you? A lot of the time, the lenders only want to pay 1 year. A couple years ago, we were able to get them to pay a lot more than that. But today, it's basically they want to really fight for 1 year. So we need to know that. We need to know. And then what ends up happening is, let's say they owe $5,000 for 1 year. Now attorney fees are another $5,000. And the lenders don't want to pay that either. Okay? So and when they're behind on, that's the one thing I do tell them. Whatever you do, you need to stay on top of it with your HOA. You have to pay your HOA and condo association. Do not go behind on it. It's so important today. It is so hard to get short sales through when they're really far behind. So please make sure that that is, can you do it? Yeah, but you know what I end up having to do? I end up having the buyers have to end up coming in and paying for it. Okay? So this, I do a lot of strategic things when I'm planning my short sales. And when I'm planning on talking to the buyer's agents and such, when they're coming in and I know they're 2 or 3 years behind, I'm letting them know, you know what, they're 3 years behind, so your buyer might be paying $10,000 on HOA dues. I want to let you know that now. I just had it happen, and you know what happens? And we close more than 95% of our short sales, and the reason why is because I think of these things beforehand, and I let the buyer's agents know so that they can tell the buyers. Who's on title? A lot of people don't know, and a lot of realtors don't know, that who's on title might not be on the mortgage. Okay, so for example, on title, a lot of the time, both the husband and wife are on title, but when you actually ask them, well, who's on the mortgage? They're like, oh, wow. And I said, well, go ahead and look, you know, at your mortgage payment that comes in the mail. Oh, yeah, well, actually, my husband's just on it. Okay, that's a big deal. And you know, they don't know that. They have no idea, because why I'm saying this is if their husband is the only one on the mortgage, then the husband is the only one that's responsible. Okay? So when you actually take the listing agreement, what ends up happening is the husband and wife both need to sign it and sign everything, but when it comes to everything that you turn into the bank, such as income, taxes, paycheck stubs, everything like that, only come from the husband. The hardship letter, that's only from the husband. And then I tell them, and whose credit is this going to affect? This credit is only going to affect the husband's. Okay? So if they're trying to go out and buy something else, yeah, that's not going to, you know, the lenders are getting very smart, so if they want to try to go and strategically do this and go and buy something else and short sell their house, and it's going to be in the wife's name, let's say, the lenders are pretty on top of that today. Okay, so that's not going to happen. However, as far as credit purposes, it's definitely that that is just going to be the person who's responsible for the mortgage. Very important. Okay. Also showing a lot of knowledge, because most realtors don't know that. What kind of mortgage do you have? Conventional, VA, FHA, reverse mortgage. Okay, that's important too. Do you have, now this is one that just came up probably within the last 6 months to year, is mortgage insurance. okay? If they have mortgage insurance, they are asking a lot of the time for them to bring money to the table to make it go through. The mortgage insurance companies, even though they insured it, they want money to be able to do a short sale. These are things you need to tell your seller up front. The only time that I've been able to get the release of the mortgage insurance in the past 6 months was somebody who was disabled. They're real tough, okay? The mortgage insurance is extremely tough now. So the things that you're telling your seller up front are extremely important. Because if they have a plan, let's say they have $100,000 cash in the bank, or $100,000 in the bank, liquid assets in the bank. You don't think that that mortgage insurance company is going to probably come after them, and the lender wants a few $1,000s too? I just closed one yesterday. She was released $250,000 of her mortgage, but she brought $8,000 to the table. I would do that all day long. She said to me, oh yeah, well great, I'm so glad we closed. And she said, but I had to bring $8,000 to the table, and I'm thinking, come on, you didn't even go behind a mortgage. I mean, there's so many different things. I mean, they should be jumping up and down all day long, you know, to see that. Anyways, is another, you know, there's other things. Are you living in the property? Okay, because if they're living in the property, or if they've lived in the property in the last 12 months, they possibly can get half up, okay? So that's one thing that you need to ask them. Depending on the lenders, there's a lot of lenders that do half up, but there are some that don't. So, and that's the stuff that you have to find out. Is the property rented? A lot of people think that if the property is rented and the renters that are living in there, that they can stop paying their mortgage, and that's not the case. They're still responsible. They still have a lease, so they do still need to pay their mortgage, okay? But if they have a renter, what we do is we only take it if we can put a lockbox on. We do not take it if we have to make an appointment, and if we have to, it's gonna be a hassle for us. It doesn't make sense, people. It doesn't make sense. These, on average, take 30, 40 hours to do a short sale. Why would you ever put all that and then not be able to get into the property? First of all, that puts a bad name on you, because now I know you as a realtor, I can't get into your properties because you don't put a lockbox on them, okay? So I'm not gonna look at your short sales if it has a tenant, because it's gonna be such a pain to show it. So it's very important that you put, if it's a tenant, that you, what we do is we give them a 24-hour notice. We do not make appointments. It's a 24-hour notice, courtesy notice is what it is. And there is a lockbox on the property every single time. Have you lived in the property in the last 12 months? What is the condition of the property? What repairs are needed? And obviously we're going to be able to tell that, you know, when we go to it, but I want to see what they're talking about, their property. Some people, they're going to say, wow, my property's great. We walk in and it's in the middle of construction, and it's not. So I just kind of want to get an idea of what their thinking process is, what they think of their own property. What we do is, if the property is not in very good condition, we absolutely, when we send in the offer, we send in line items of everything that is wrong with the property. If the roof is bad, we actually get we get 2 roof bids. Okay, we send that in with the package. We get as much information as we can to send in if the property isn't in good condition. Okay, and it helps it every single time, I promise you that. Have you considered, or are you considering declaring bankruptcy? Very important, okay? You can still do a short sale, and we do them all the time if they've declared bankruptcy. When they declare bankruptcy, as long as they've included the home into the bankruptcy, they are released 100% of their deficiency judgment. So people ask, well, why do a short sale then? If I'm already released to the deficiency judgment, I'll just let it go into foreclosure. No, it's not good for the communities. It's not good for anything. Okay, because a lot of the time when the home sits in a bankruptcy, what it does is it sits there for a year or 2. That's not good for anybody. No HOA dues are being paid. And there's a lot of people out there that actually know that, and they say, you know what, I don't want to do this for the economy and for my beliefs, my personal beliefs, that I don't want to go into foreclosure. I'm sorry this had to happen to me and I claim bankruptcy. However, I still want to do a short sale. And I get a lot of people like that. And that's how, if I had to go through that situation, that's how I would be too. Because you're sitting there and you're not allowing the associations to get their money every single month. And so now attorney fees every month are being added on. Everything's being added on to this. And it's not helping the community. I know in our community we have 4 people either in bankruptcy or foreclosure that owe a lot of money to our association. And if we don't do a short sale, they're only going to get 1 year back. Okay? So there's a lot of people out there that actually want to do it because of that. What has changed in your life since when you bought the property? Very important question. Lost my job, making 50% of my income, got divorced. Those are all hardships, okay? They don't really consider having a baby a hardship. They don't. But, you know, I mean, there's a lot. And can you do a short sale without actually having a hardship? Yeah, you can try, okay? And will they do it? A lot of the time they will, okay, because they don't want to see it go in foreclosure, so they will do it. Now, will they come back to them? They're probably going to want to either have the opportunity to come back to them, or they're going to ask them for money at close. Okay, it's plain and simple as that, and I tell every single seller that. Okay, those are usually the sellers I personally work with, but I tell them that you are not probably going to walk away from this. You're going to need to bring money to the table. And I have no problem. Some realtors are, wow, you ask a lot of personal questions. You have to. Okay, you have to. Do you have any liquid assets? And if so, what do you have? I want to know exactly how much money they have in the bank. Okay? I don't know if they have 100,000, 200. What do you have in the bank? Liquid assets. Now, I'm not talking about your retirement, your 401k, and things that are protected. I'm talking about liquid assets. And if they say to me, you know, some people say, oh, well, I'll just take them out. I'll just take my $100,000 out and put it somewhere else. No, you can't do that. Okay, because they look back and they see that kind of stuff. Are you currently considering a loan modification? If they want to do a loan modification, let's try that first. Absolutely. That's a hard thing to do. Loan modifications, in the first 6 months, it used to be 2/3, and now it's 50% of the people go back and start missing payments again. Okay? So they don't, you know, a lot of people don't want, a lot of the lenders don't want to do the loan modifications. They actually have to qualify for loan modifications just like you do a mortgage. Do you hold any kind of security clearance? Okay, military, actually a lot of different people. I mean, even people that are working at, you know, Walmart or, you know, all sorts of different people, firemen, all sorts of different people are carrying security clearance. And a lot of the time when you have security clearance, you can't go into bankruptcy or you can't go into foreclosure. And they have no idea, okay? So they have to ask their security officer and everything, and they go and talk to them. Do you know the short sale process and how it works? I explain it all to them. I tell them how long it takes. I never do anything unless it's 90 days. Every single buyer that comes and buys one of my properties is in that contract for 90 days with $5,000 in escrow up front, period. You aren't a short sale buyer if you aren't in it for 90 days. Now, can we get it done in 45 or 60? Sure, sometimes we can. Absolutely. But is that something I want Lydia to work on and bust her rear end every single? No, absolutely not. Okay? Unless it's something that I've gotten pre-approved that actually they gave me a price and they told me, and even when they tell me it's only going to be 2 weeks, I tell them a month. I always tell them double of what anything is, okay? Because guess what's going to happen is that buyer's agent's going to be calling you, they're going to think that you're a liar or whatever, so you just always want to give more time than they actually tell you. Do you know of any do you know what a deficiency judgment is? How many in here know what a deficiency judgment is in the state of Florida? Okay, we've got 8, 10 out of 35 of you. Every single person, unless you release it in the short sale, can have a deficiency judgment within 5 years of closing that short sale. And what does a deficiency judgment mean? If I got a mortgage for I owe $300,000 on the mortgage, and with all the costs and everything, I sold it for $200,000, so there's $100,000 difference. They can come back to me for that amount. What happens when they come back to me for that amount? I get taxed on it as if it was my income. So if you're at 30% income, you're paying 30% of that $100,000.
Are they doing that this year, or are they starting that next year?
I'm going to go into that in a while. If you have, let's see, I guess I have that on there, I'm sorry again. I explained the IRS and how that may affect them, and we're going to go into a little bit more in detail in just a few minutes. Systems. Very important. You have systems in short sales. And a lot of realtors don't have systems. In a short sale, you have to have it. Process the first few short sales by yourself and do it by yourself. It's going to be very time consuming, but you need to know the process yourself, okay? Because you can't, what Lydia does is she does all of my short sale paperwork and does everything. She checks over my contracts. I mean, she does everything for me. However, when it comes to the end, she's sitting there and we're discussing how it needs to be handled. And if you haven't done it yourself, you're going to have no idea how it works, okay? So she's coming back to me, and when the negotiations at the end, and I'm being strategic with her on how to handle the situation. So you have to do them by yourself at first, a couple. After that, then you want to partner with a transaction coordinator or title company to process your short sales, but do not allow it to cost you any of your commission. Okay? Tim also has a company that does this. Get complete packages from your seller before putting the home on the market. A complete package. You need a hardship letter that you never write, okay? You never write the hardship letter. They can write it, and then you can give them tips, possibly, of what to add to it, or what maybe it's too long. But you never put that pen on that paper, and you never email them what to put in that hardship letter. It's very important. You are not an attorney. If they want you to hire somebody to do that hardship letter, they need to hire a lawyer to do it, okay? There are also, you know what I tell them too? I used to send them examples, but they're all over the internet. Google it. Hardship letter, how to prepare a hardship letter. You always want it to be 1 page or less. It does not need to go into their whole life story. Okay? You also are going to include 2 bank statements, 2 months of bank statements, most recent bank statements. Okay? You also are going to include 2 paycheck stubs. If they are not working, you just write on a piece of white paper in big ink and say not working. You basically date it, sign it, put the loan information on it. Haven't worked since whatever date. But you still need to have that in your package. As far as taxes, they're going to start right now. They're asking for 2011 taxes. So if you're going to take a short sale listing, you need 2011 taxes done. Okay? Then sometimes each of the lenders have their own requirements that they have to fill out. You also, if you're going to try to do a HAFA, they have a form, 5 pages that you have to fill out. You're also going to fill out a financial form. Okay, but exactly, again, if only the husband or the wife are on the mortgage, they're the only information that you need for this part of the transaction. If they're both on the title, as far as the listing agreement and everything else, you need both of them. But anything that has to do with the financial part of it is only coming from the one that is actually on the mortgage.
So even the taxes then? I mean,
Well, if they do them joint, you don't have a choice. So she asked if the taxes, and again, I'm going to answer this, but then let's get the questions at the end, please. The bottom line is if you do a joint tax, obviously the tax return is going to have to be turned in, with both of them on it. And that's okay, because you can, you just have to do it that way. But you can tell in the actual worksheet what the husband or the wife is making. And also if they're on bank accounts and there's both of them on it, then you do have to turn them in, okay? Both the people. Recommend that the homeowner stays current on the HOA association dues and ask if they have MI insurance that we went into already, so you know the situation up front. When you're getting a BPO or an appraisal, make sure you are at every single one of them. Take the lockbox off the door if you have to, because we have a showing service. So what ends up happening is they can get around us. And so what you want to do is you want to be at every single one. Now, I am not anymore at every single one, but I do talk to them. I would recommend you, unless you do a lot of them, that you need to be at every single one of them. But I talk to them and they can tell that I know what I'm doing, so I explain everything to them, and they most of the time they listen to me, okay? You want to talk to the person who's doing it. And actually, the person who's doing the BPO, broker price opinion, that is done by a real estate agent, A lot of the time they live 30, 40, 50 miles away. They have no clue, none at all. Actually, the appraisers usually listen better to me. And you know what? If you're trying to lowball it, forget it. It's not going to happen. It's not going to happen. When I submit an offer, it is 5% of market value, okay? Because that's what the banks are looking for, 5% to 100, 95%, I'm sorry, 95 to 100% of market value. Unless it's been on the market for a really long time and it's in poor condition, I don't mess with it, okay? Because that's what they want. That's what they want, and that's what they're getting. So, and I get people to pay it all day, all day. And so you can't sit there and you can't bring comps that are not comparable to the property that you're doing. You can't ask that person that's doing the broker price opinion to come down $20,000 when they do 50 to 100 a month, and they're going to try to work with you. They are, but you got to be reasonable, okay? You can also see if the loan's owned by Fannie Mae, and if it is, they'll do the HAFA. And also, they will pay a full commission, okay? There's a lot of full commissions. We fight for commissions all the time, but sometimes they don't pay full commissions. Also, Freddie Mac does that as well. You have to have great communication with the buyer's agent. You have to let them know what's going on in the process. Where I do most of my work with the buyer's agent is I'm talking to them up front and letting them know exactly how it's going to work, okay? And I'm going to be very direct on how the whole situation is. Because of that is why I find success. If I'm not talking to them and not letting them know what's going on, and I'm not letting them know that we're 3 years behind on the homeowners association, and I have this and that, and just like when I'm doing the consultation with the seller up front, I'm letting them know everything. Again, same thing with the buyer's agent. I'm letting them know everything that's going to happen in this process, because what they're doing is they're going back to the buyer and letting them know, is this going to be for you or is this not? When you're doing emails and updating the buyer's agent, remember that buyer's agent, what they're going to probably do? Copy and paste exactly what you said in that email. So be very careful on what you're writing in your emails. You always want to be positive, okay? I mean, even if there's no information, just say, we called 2 days ago, we still don't, it's still in the negotiation process, we have up to 10 more business days. That's it. And I'm going to tell you the questions that buyer's agents should be asking the listing agents before you want to sell those properties, okay? Because when we do our consultations up front, we do VIP buyer consultations with every single one of our buyers. And we sell our team, and we sell our knowledge. And we explain all of this to people up front of exactly how the situation is going to work. So, know all the changes that are happening with the short sales, and I'm going to tell you what, it is exhausting. If you're going to just dabble in it, don't, okay? And if it's something that you don't want to do, but you want to work on it on the buyer's side, but you don't want to work on it on the listing side, that's okay too, okay? But don't just dabble in short sales, okay? Know what you're doing. We are videotaping this too, so we will put it up for you to look at later if you want to hear anything. So just so you know, because I see a lot of people taking some notes or trying to write down these slides, but you'll see it in the videotape. How to work with short sales as a buyer's agent. Questions to ask. Is the short sale package completed by the seller? That's big, because if it's not going anywhere. Sometimes the seller will take 2, 3, 4 weeks, 5 weeks. They have no motivation to sell that property. So now you've submitted an offer, and it hasn't even gotten submitted to the bank because the sellers have not given it to you. Happens all the time. So if the short sale package is not complete, you want it to be completed. Okay, and one of the things that we tell the buyer's agents up front is we tell them that even in our own, it's 90 days and it's 5,000. I don't care what that's the way and you don't look at other properties because you are in a contract during that time. You don't go out and look at other properties unless you plan on buying those properties because you've decided that you are doing a short sale. You want to wait for the short sale, and that's okay. But I'm also going to tell you, Mr. Buyer, if you are going to wait for a short sale, we're going to interview every single agent, listing agent, to make sure that because if they don't qualify, I mean, if they aren't really experienced in short sales, the likelihood of that short sale going through and closing is about 10%. So you're going to then wait 90 days to find out, and it's going to fall apart. I explain all of this, we explain all of this in our consultation, okay? What we ask them, are they taking, I don't even know if I have that on here. Do you take multiple offers? If they're taking multiple, which most people aren't now, but if they're taking multiple offers, don't get involved with that. Why would you? Okay? Now I don't mind if they take backup offers and they can, and I always get the first right of refusal. That's fine. They can do that. But they cannot have multiple offers. Have you submitted, this is another really good one that I find now, is have you submitted other offers? So if they've submitted other offers, not necessarily are they, it's the bank, because the bank's going to go out and do another value again on the property, but what did they accept? Okay? And a lot of the time, if they accepted whatever the amount is, let's say $250,000, don't go and tell your buyer, well, they accepted $250,000, so they're going to accept your $250,000. Because even if it was 2 or 3 months ago or 6 months ago, they're going to still bring out somebody to probably, most likely, do another evaluation. And if other properties have closed, that could either go up or down, okay? So don't promise anybody that you're going to get it for that price. But the good thing is a lot of the times, is they already have a lot of the information, so it might move along a little faster. Don't promise that either, okay? But I do let them know that it very well can move. Now, there are some people, like Bank of America, that, what is it, 14 days now that you have to submit an offer? So basically, Bank of America, which services 25% of all loans, okay? If you lose your buyer, either you have a backup, which is great with Bank of America, or you can go out and try to hurry up and get another offer. Within 14 days, they keep that file open. And as long as you submit the exact same conditions and price, they're going to move right in there. It's probably going to take a couple weeks, up to maybe 30 days maximum, but a couple weeks. That's it. So there are some times, and there are other banks too, that they're actually, you know, if you do a half and you actually get a price up front that's already accepted. Also, we just did one for Fannie Mae. It's a brand new thing that just started. And I don't remember what the name of the servicing company is or whatever, but it's a Fannie Mae, and they're going to give us a price, and it's actually more like an REO, where the first 7 days, they want 100% of the price, and you do it all online. This is the first time I've ever seen it. It just happened to us a couple days ago. So, you know, things, so they're actually submitting offers, and they want 100% of that price. So, but that's almost good, because then people aren't waiting so long. So hopefully we're going to see more of this kind of stuff if it works well. But that's why you got to stay up on your short sale market. Do you know how much the bank is looking for? They can't tell you that for sure. They can't, but they can maybe give you a price range of what the bank is looking for. What, you know, what they already accept, or do you have any idea what they're looking for? Are they current on their HOA and condo dues? That is a must. I ask them, do they know if they have MI insurance too? As a buyer's agent, do you have MI? The realtors might think you're crazy because they never asked their seller that.
A lot of times the seller don't.
Yeah, so the seller doesn't know a lot of the time either. And so then all you got to do is they just call. They can find out. But again, because if they didn't even tell the seller that they have MI insurance, which is mortgage insurance, then what ends up happening is, you know, they're going to come back and they might ask the seller for money. Most of the time they do. I see. What percentage do you see, Lydia, that the mortgage insurance companies are coming back and asking the seller to?
Almost all. If the MI company is in the process, then almost all of them. They'll come back with a cash contribution or a promissory note of double that amount. So they'll either say 5,000 cash, or it'll be a 10,000 promissory note, 0% interest for 10, 50, you know, they'll space it out. It doesn't have to start right away, so you can get your sellers to start saving some money for the monthly payment, which is a good thing. But yeah, but what we found out is a lot of people initially did not get MI, but later the lenders bundled things and then enlisted MI insurance on it. So a lot of times the seller has no idea that there's MI, so you get into this process. And that's the initial approval you need. You can't get a short sale approved without without MI approval. So you're gonna have to make the deal with them, or you have no short sale. They're the first norm, the first game.
Yeah, and basically what she said, more so for the videotaping, is that almost all the time they're asking for MI insurance, and they're asking either for a promissory note or double that promissory note in cash. They're putting a 0% interest on it a lot of the time, but it's very common now, so it's something that you definitely need to know. I mean, getting out of that mortgage insurance, let me tell you, a lot of people say, I just told you that Bank of America services 25% of all loans. So do you think, how many of you think that Bank of America owns those loans? No. Okay, what percentage do you think Bank of America actually owns portfolio loans?
5.
See? 10%. 10%. The other 90% are owned by 10,000 different investors. Okay? Those 10,000 investors, Fannie, Freddie, me, groups of investors. Okay? All sorts of different people. So people will say, okay, well, it was a Bank of America loan. Why did that short sale go through so quickly and this one didn't? Okay? Well, it's because, first of all, do they have a first and a second? That's another thing that you need to ask. And I don't even know if I have it on there. But do they have a first and a second? Do they have mortgage insurance? Because let's say they have a first, a second, and mortgage insurance, all with Bank of America. The first actually has 3 investors involved. The second has an investor involved. And then the MI insurance. So now how many people do you think have to approve everything that you do?
6.
Or whatever, 5 or 6 people. Okay? So all these investors are different, and all of them are going to expect different things. So people are like, why does it take so long? Well, the seller's not providing the information that the lender wants, and then every time you go and you want to negotiate, well, how long is it going to take? Let's say they come back and you offer $200,000, and the bank wants $225,000, and now you want to counteroffer that $225,000, and you want to offer $215,000, and the buyer's agent says to you, well, how long is that going to take? Could take a couple hours, could take a few weeks. Because every single person has to agree with every single change. The lenders are wanting updates from the buyers all the time, or from the sellers, I'm sorry, all the time, of their bank statements, of making sure that they didn't just come into a bunch of money, of their paycheck stubs. I mean, constantly they're wanting updates. Depending on, and they don't move forward until they get those things. So for example, that your seller took 2 weeks to get those items. Guess what happens now? It's put on hold for 2 weeks. So every single time that you're sitting there and you're doing a short sale, you have to be very tough on those sellers, that you have to have that information immediately when it's asked for. And if they, I'll tell you what, my sellers cooperate. Can you imagine that? Do you know, okay, how many loans are there? Do you only submit one offer at a time, as we discussed? Who does your short sale negotiations? That's a big one. If they do it, or a transaction coordinator does it, that's probably pretty good. If an attorney does it himself, that's probably pretty bad. Sorry. But it's true. The attorneys don't have time. We don't have time as realtors to sit there on the phone all day and call. That's what Lydia does all day long. She's on the phone all day long, weekends, nights, all the time. Okay, I'm out selling properties, but that's what she's doing. Okay, so what do you think the attorneys? Do you think the attorneys have motivation to be on that phone calling them all the time?
No.
No. So how often do you think they call? Every few weeks, once a month? Okay, so it's important to know who's doing the negotiations. How many successful short sales have you completed? It's funny, we have people sometimes say, oh, well, I can't believe you do it that way. I've never had it done in the past, so I'll look up their sales. They've done one deal in the last year. Okay. Well, I do it because I'm successful at it. Okay, I know how to do short sales. But, ask them how many deals, how many short sales they've completed. That's a big question, too. Who knows about the robo-signing settlement, the $25 billion robo-signing settlement? Couple people? Effective March 1st, 2012, then it will take 60 to 90 days until they actually take action and up to 3 years to pay out. The reason why I know this kind of stuff is because, again, I'm not looking to do a short sale if it's not right for my client, okay? There are different things and different modifications that are there for them that might be a better option for them. So I'm explaining, as the expert in short sales, the local expert, I'm explaining these things to them, and they are just really appreciating that of my knowledge of the market, okay? Robo-signing settlement, $25 billion forced payout by 5 major lenders: Citibank, Wells Fargo, Chase, Bank of America, and Ally. Looking at 9 other smaller banks, but only 5 banks right now. They're looking at smaller banks to be involved. So the other smaller banks, or basically, I'm sorry, Fannie, Freddie, FHA loans are not eligible for this, okay? Basically, dual track foreclosure will be forbidden. For example, you cannot foreclose at the same time you're doing a modification. Now, if they're coming in and just trying to stop the foreclosure the last minute, that's not going to happen, okay? But what's happening a lot of the time is somebody might be 6 months behind or something, and then they start a loan modification, and that might take another 6 months, 9 months, a year. They're not supposed to be foreclosed on during that time, okay? But a lot of people are just thinking they can come in at the end and do it, and that's not the case. Foreclosures actually are going to be going faster because here in Florida, I deal with people that have been living in their home 4 and 5 years without ever paying a mortgage payment, okay? Now, there are a lot that go in a year and a half, but there are some that have pushed it out that far, and we're not, now that we've got the robo-sign, does everybody know what the robo-signing was? Was it Sue Green signed about, I don't even know, what was it? Thousands and thousands. So Sue Green was thousands of people that signed all over the country.
In different handwritings.
In different handwritings. And so they stopped a lot of the foreclosures because they wanted to go back and look at all these documents and make sure that they were foreclosed on correctly. So now that people are going to get awarded $25 billion, which we're going to get into. So $5 billion of that, $2,000 payments to people who lost their home to foreclosure between January 1st, 2007 and December 31st, 2011. They've had to have been foreclosed on during that time, no investment properties included, and it's going to be a state-by-state basis on how they want to split it up, and it's going to be paid out over a 3-year basis, okay? $10 billion of that will go to people who are currently delinquent on their mortgage via loan modifications. You'll see this mainly in loan modifications. There will not be many principal reductions, which we don't see now very often, right? No. Very rarely. Because banks only get 50% credit on the dollar for any principal reduction. And they only get 10% credit on the dollar for any HELOC reduction. So why would the banks do it? Doesn't make sense. That's all the credit that they're getting. Short sales are a better option for an investor. So you're going to see a lot more people that are going to come to you and say, my lender has asked me to do a short sale. You're going to see more people getting paid more moving expenses. So, you know, I have some people that come, oh, I heard that you can get $20,000 or $30,000 or whatever. Not unless they marketed to them are they going to get that. What I see is that when people claim bankruptcy a lot of the time, because it's sometimes if it's not released, if the bankruptcy hasn't been released from the courts, they can't foreclose on it. So a lot of the time what we're seeing now is that they're offering maybe $10,000 or whatever, $15,000, because they know it's tied up in the courts and it's been tied up for maybe a year and a half. So they haven't been able to foreclose on it, so it's going to be better for them to pay them. And I've had that happen, I think, to 3 recently, where we've actually done that, released them from the courts, gotten them closed. Okay? $3 billion are going to be for people that are current on their mortgage payment but underwater, and with interest rate reductions in terms, which is great. I mean, if it's for the right person that can do it, that'll be great. Especially with the interest rates now. I mean, I think most everybody knows that the interest rates are better than they ever have ever been, ever, okay, in history. And we are at affordability, the best it's ever been in history. Okay, it's 13.3% affordability, when average is 22.3%. So it's the best affordability and the best interest rates ever. $7 billion will go towards assisting distressed homeowners through relocation assistance that I was just talking about, forbearance short sale relocation assistance. And it's going to take 6 to 9 months to identify this, and a lot of them are going to be by mail, okay, for the $25 billion, or you can send anybody to that website there, www.nationalmortgagesettlement.com. And they can see if they can actually get are going to be able to get any money from it. This is big. Okay, this is what we were talking about. This is what Michelle asked me about earlier. Mortgage Forgiveness Debt Relief Act ends December. As of right now, it ends December 31st of this year. You need to basically be under contract by June. Okay, just in case you lose a buyer, whatever. This act offered relief to homeowners who would formerly owe taxes on forgiven mortgage debt after facing foreclosure. The act extends such relief for 3 years, applying to debts discharged in calendar year from 2007 through 2009. With the Emergency Act of 2008, this tax relief was extended another 3 years. Okay, which is going to be through 2012. So let me explain this to you. You have to worry about 2 different things. You have to worry about the lenders, and you have to worry about our friends at the IRS. The IRS can come, or I'm sorry, when you sell your home for less than what you owe on it, you owe the IRS taxes on that. If it's your primary property, the IRS basically has forgiven that, okay? Now, not all, in all cases. It's forgiven it, for example, your first mortgage, you owe $300,000. Let's say you have a second mortgage of $100,000. And that second mortgage that you took out $100,000, you went and bought a car, went on vacation, paid off credit cards. So that $100,000, you're going to still owe taxes on, okay? But let's say you took that $100,000 out and you put in improvements in your home. Now you owe no money on that $100,000. If it's your primary property, I believe it's up to $2 million. If it's your primary property, what the IRS is saying right now is we're going to release you of that amount, okay? And so you aren't going to have to pay any taxes only to the IRS until the end of 2012. What do you think this is? Is this a great marketing piece for you?
Yes.
I mean, come on, guys. There's so much wonderful marketing out there. What did I tell you? Like 82% never even talk to a real estate agent about going to foreclosure. I mean, there's so much out there for everybody. You know, when I sit there and I hear people say, oh, well, you know, I only do 1 deal a year or 2 deals a year, or, you know, I'm not doing very much. Whose fault is that? I've only been in real estate for 5.5 years. Look at me. Don't give me that. There's a lot out there, okay? Just learn the business. If it's an investment property, it's not included. However, if it is an investment property, what you can do is if it's an investment property, if you are insolvent, there is a form, and you need to talk to I always send everybody to my accountant. I know it's Form 982, but I don't like to even tell them that, because I don't want to have anything to do with it. But if they're insolvent and they can prove that they're insolvent, then they can be released as well. But you don't want to ever explain that to them. Let their accountant tell them that. So normally in the U.S., when a lender decides to forgive all or a portion of the borrower's debt and accept less, the forgiven amount is considered as income for the borrower and is liable to be taxed. However, after signing the Mortgage Forgiveness Act, amendments have been made to remove such tax liability and allow the borrowers and lenders to work freely together to find common solution that is beneficial to both parties. This protection is limited to primary residence, rental properties, and ineligible for relief. So consultation with a tax advisory is necessary to ensure that a borrower qualifies. But this is something I would definitely, and don't try to explain it, send them. You know, don't explain. The worst thing you can do is explain something incorrectly. So if you don't know it, go and research it and make sure. You can just go onto the IRS website and it has all this information for you. April 30th of 2012, basically the HAMP is a reporting tool. So basically you're gonna, the release preview on Monday, April 30th, 2012, the HAMP reporting system, including the HAMP reporting tool. Does everybody know what HAMP is? No? Modification? Okay, loan modifications. Will receive new functionally and support the following: principal reduction, alternative compensation changes, changes to the amount of capitalization, second liens. And the only reason why I know this stuff and I could share this stuff is because people that are looking to do loan modifications, I want to just let them know that there are going to be some changes that could help them and they could be eligible for this. HAFA, the first year, only closed 600 HAFA successfully in the first year. Now they've tried to update, just like HAMP is trying to get better, HAFA got better, and so 90% of the people that weren't eligible for HAFA when it came out, I believe it was 2010, are now eligible today. And can they go and reapply? Absolutely. So they're just trying to make things better. Now, as you know, the government, you know, has things challenging, but they are definitely trying to make it better. Like, I talked to one of the people that are in charge of HAFA and tell her what we see as realtors and how to try to make it better between the realtors and the lenders and such. So they are working on it. Unfortunately, they're just overwhelmed with this whole, what's going on in the economy, okay? So there's gonna be changes. What you basically should do is you should know about this. Go and research what's happening. And there's stuff going on, like I said, all the time, so you just gotta continue to update your information. I want to thank you today, and I want to take any questions. Yes? Steve?
I have a question. What happens if a BPO is at one number and the actual appraisal is at another number? What is the guiding light?
Okay, that's a great question. Usually that's up to the lender, and they're probably going to take them both. They're either going to go back to the appraiser or they're going to go back to the person doing the broker price opinion, and they're going to ask them to relook at their value and try to come up with something similar. But bringing up that question actually brings me to say, if you know that the value of your property, let's say, is $200,000 and the bank wants $210,000, $220,000 for it, and you can show comps, you need to fight it all day long, okay? You need to go ahead and research that. And again, I mean, make sure that it's true. And then you're like, what? How did they come in at 210 or 220, okay, when it's really only worth 200? And if you can prove that, a lot of the time they will actually take it. If they don't take it, then what I always do is I talk to the buyer's agent and ask if they want to, if their buyer wants to invest in an appraisal, okay? I'm not going to tell them that anything's going to happen with that appraisal, but if they wanted to make an investment in the appraisal, then we'll submit that appraisal to the lender, and a lot of the time, again, they will take that appraisal. Okay, so just you have to think of all the options of things that are happening and ways to not let this fall through.
Well, I think what I'm dealing with one right now that I happen to be personally buying. The offer was at 200. The BPO came in at 2.25. I'm getting ready right now to do an appraisal, and it happens to be with Wells Fargo, and the appraiser told us already it's not going to come in at 2.25. And you can look at the comps, it's going to come in at about 190.
Well, so who's the lender? Who's
Wells Fargo.
Okay, and that's a good point right there. So if it's a Wells Fargo servicer, okay, because Wells Fargo and Chase owns another, they service another 25%. So you have Bank of America that services 25% of all loans. Then you have Wells Fargo and Chase combined that service another 25% of all loans. So if it were me and I was doing that, I would say buyer, and it would even be better if you used a Wells Fargo appraiser.
It's a Wells Fargo loan.
That's what I'm saying. I'm saying, so you pay and invest in the appraiser, and you take that, and you're actually using Wells Fargo appraiser to go ahead and do and then you take that back to the bank. I mean, how can they fight it? We're using their own appraisers. Okay, and it works a lot of the time. It really does.
How do you find their appraisers?
Well, you can't find a Wells Fargo appraiser. You have to actually be going through a loan process, which I am going through right now to purchase that short sale.
And what I would do personally is I would call a mortgage broker from that particular and have them go through them to get it. Yep. What else? What other questions? Yes, Jillian.
Question. Can you explain the process whereby you have a husband and wife and it's all everything, title, mortgage, whatever's on the husband's side, and they haven't paid in 2-3 years. They probably got, maybe $7 grand in the bank or whatever, and they go out and buy a property cash. What would happen?
Okay, I'm sorry. Say that again.
Okay, all the business is in the husband's side, credit, all that kind of stuff on the property that they're losing, right? And since they haven't paid any money towards the bank, they've been, in default, and they've saved up this little pot of cash. What happens if they go out and buy a property cash that they go and live in? I know they're not supposed to, but
no, they can do that, but I wouldn't do it until after I closed on the short sale of that property.
right. But I guess what I want to know is what would happen? Would they take that house too? And
No.
say-
They can't. Because it's in the wife's name. They absolutely can't do that. But can they look at that as strategic, and can they try to, I would definitely not have it, I would have this one closed first before I would purchase this one. But they can't, if it's in the wife's name, absolutely not. She has nothing to do with the mortgage. She is not responsible for it. But if you're trying to go buy a place, and you have started to miss mortgage payments, and you're getting a loan on a property, they used to allow you to do that if it was like the wife and it was in the husband's, but today they aren't. The lenders are getting smarter today. So they aren't allowing you to go, even though the wife has nothing to do with that mortgage, but the wife still, you're missing payments, you're not gonna get a mortgage on it, okay? But that's not illegal, because the wife there's no ties there for the wife. Okay, Lydia.
Just a couple of things. On a short sale, talking about that checking credit and they'll find out things. In the 30 or 60 days where I keep calling every week, no update, they're not doing and sitting doing nothing. They are running title checks, they're running criminal background checks, they're running credit checks and everything else. Because I've had them, so they know what's out there. I've had them come back, and I'm only a transaction coordinator, and ask me, and they'll look at the original loan application, if there's a bank account or statement on that, and you don't send this bank statement with it, what happened? They'll come back and find out what happened to it, get them, if they want that statement or anything like that. So they're not just sitting around doing nothing. There's a lot of background stuff that they come up with, and they'll ask for, and they'll check, and that's where they'll find out if they have money in a bank, or if money was taken out recently, like where did it go, what did they do with it, type of thing. So they check on all of that. Also, with the Mortgage Relief Act, if you have sellers, or you're gonna go for sellers that are thinking about listing it, you really need to push them to list it. You need to get offers in the 90 to 100% market value, and you're gonna get a one-shot deal. You're gonna need to get an approval by November 1st to be able to close it by December 31st. You have Thanksgiving and Christmas holidays that nobody works, no HOAs work, no buyers lenders will work, and you're gonna cut yourself really short. The lenders are everybody's gonna wake up like about September, and they're gonna swamp them, and so it's gonna really be tough. And they're not, I can get calls from you, from the agents, from the buyer's agent, let's push it, we need to close this by December 31st. The lenders aren't going to care, that's just not, it was tough to push them when the buyers had the tax credit. By November 30th, they have to close with Thanksgiving that weekend. They don't care, they're just gonna do what they need to do. So the earlier you can get it in, and you're gonna get a one-shot thing, you're not gonna have time to lowball it and then try and get a second buyer in there or something, because it's gonna take 3 or 4 months. They're gonna start getting slammed, and I'll probably started getting slammed too.
And also, don't promise that you can get it done. I mean, don't ever promise that, because you know what? That could be a lawsuit too. I mean, if you're promising them that you can do something that you can't do.
But if you get it in earlier, you have a better chance, and the more complete your package is, and the better the deal is, you know, higher, most value, the better you are. You know, the investor on 50%, they're not going for it. They're just not going for it.
Thanks, Lydia.
And
Yep.
also the sellers, they want updated every 60 days. So just alert them. I've alerted some sellers if I do talk to them. Kristin, just put in a pile. Every time you get a bank statement, just make it easily accessible. So if I need it in 24 hours, they can email it. And also, a lot of people do online banking. The lenders are not accepting those as bank statements. They want the paper one, and if at the top it says 1 of 6, they want all 6 pages, whether it's blank or not. Tell them not to throw those pages out, because they'll have to go back to the bank and pay or ask for it, and that takes time, because I've had that happen. So just FYI, to try and make it go smoother. You learn something new every day.
Thanks.
Hey Chris, I'm perplexed about these MI companies coming back to the sellers at the closing table. Did they somehow in the process become lien holders on the property?
Well, I mean, they have, you know,
They're insuring the
They don't-
bank, not.
yeah, but they don't have to agree to anything. They're insuring it. Go ahead, you want to
Well,
answer?
I mean,
What
they're-
they do is they are an insurance policy to the lender that they will make them whole.
Exactly.
And because of all this thing, they're busy losing money. So if they see that a borrower has money somewhere, they're collecting to try and stop their lien, basically.
We didn't used to see it on the MI companies coming back and doing this, and it's just been more recently, what do you say, 6 months, 8 months, I don't know, whatever. I mean, they used to release it, they're losing so much money now that they have to agree to it. And the only way that they're agreeing to it is if the seller has money, like Lydia said, they're stopping the bleeding, so they're expecting them to bring some money to the table.
Do they have a lien on the property?
Yeah,
The MI company has a lien?
well,
on the
they're
property?
insuring the property, they have to agree.
No, they insure 20% of the loan down.
Right, they insure
Okay.
20% of the loan,
So-
but they have to agree to release it. They have to sign off to release it, so they absolutely, I don't know if that it's an actual lien, but they have to agree to it, and if they don't sign off, that property's not gonna close, period.
Just like the HOA, it's the same idea.
Yeah, it is just like the HOA, but the HOA is the lien. So I don't know for sure, but I would, you know, it's not gonna happen ever. It's never gonna close unless the MI company agrees to it. Yes.
If someone is approved for the HAFA, they are forgiven, they don't get the deficiency judgment. The amount that they get for moving, is that a sure thing, they get a minimum of 3,000 or 10, or is it possible they get 0 and be approved for HAFA?
Okay, if it's half, it's 3,000.
Minimum.
No.
No,
Period.
it's 3,000, period. And you, as a realtor, should be getting your full commission. Okay, now they can use that $3,000 towards HOA fees and other things to get the short sale completed as well, okay, that they're gonna get. But it's only $3,000 for the half cent. Now those are other programs that they have that you're gonna get more than $3,000, okay?
Yeah, I have a case that they was told by the bank of America to my client that he can get 9,000 for the state of Florida. And at the end, they only admit to use the 9,000 against the homeowner association that was behind. Not to give to them. My client was very happy. Oh, I'm gonna get out of this.
Did they get it?
No.
Okay. So people mislead people all the time. Yes.
So you got the package, which is the first step, and you're listing a property. So the next step that's very important is to send to the lender the authorization to communicate with them for Lydia and for yourself, yes. What do you do if the lender ignore your fax and you have your seller calling the lender and proving to the lender that you're sending the document? Well, and the communication that's an open, you know.
He's asking what if they're ignoring the facts and everything else. Well, Lydia calls. Lydia's persistent. We've never, in the hundreds that I've done, we have never ever had a problem with getting
to start the
authorization.
communication.
So I'm wondering who's doing your short sale, if you are or if somebody else is. They just aren't being persistent about it. I mean, that's not happening.
I mean, sometimes I'll call initially, get a fax number, fax it, and I'll call again, and they say, oh no, that's the wrong fax. Sometimes I've had to, especially Chase is notorious. They have offices all over the country, and finally after 5, I then lose my cool.
That's Chase. And two fax
finally,
number.
then I start raising my voice nicely and say, okay, I've done this enough, I faxed it 6 times. And someone, then the person I talk to sometimes will give me their email, and I email directly to them while I'm on the phone, and then put it into the system. But I'll play their rules for a while,
Yeah.
and they'll say 30 days, you know, to get an answer, and I'll give it 35 days. Then I start saying, okay, I've now called you these days, and I have a record. Oh yeah.
And do you
And then
believe that
I-
they do it in purpose? Because on the other side, they don't forget to call the owner and tell him, oh, this is the lawyer number, you are now in foreclosure, you know. So they don't open the door on one side, and on the other side, they are putting the pressure on the seller like crazy, you know. It's very interesting.
The seller's gonna continue to get, you need to just
And-
tell them, they're
yeah.
gonna continue to get calls.
Oh, yeah,
But a lot
they're
of
gonna get
times
calls.
that's the collections department, they have no idea that you're doing a short sale, so just be real nice, and you do the short sale, and hang up on them, don't ignore them, don't get mad at them, because that's some person who's getting, you know, $2 an hour, you know, some, you know, minimum wage or whatever, to just call. The collections department doesn't know what's happening, the short sale department is another department, the foreclosure's another, and they don't connect or talk to each other, and they're gonna continue to get the calls, and we can't stop.
And actually talking about the collections, that's a good point that's brought up. So now the second has been sent to collections, okay? It gets more challenging. Lydia, why don't you tell us when it goes to collections, what ends up happening?
You don't want it to go to collections, I can assure you, because with collections, all bets are off. If it's with the lender, they'll accept the $3,000 or $5,000 most of the time, or if it's a half, they have to accept only 6% of their balance, which may be $1,000 or something like that, they have to accept that. If it goes to the recovery department, that's still with the lender, but they're gonna want more money with it, and they then send it out to collections. The collections department are ruthless, and they're gonna want pretty much the whole thing, or even
That's what they're
all
doing,
kinds
they're
of short
collectors.
sale.
You know,
I've had a couple, and it's been.
It's brutal.
When I hear that, I go,
Yes,
makes
go ahead,
it
Steve.
difficult.
Are you recommending to your clients to do a title search prior to getting
Yeah.
involved? Okay.
Absolutely.
To spend
Absolutely.
the
Doing a
ju-
title search, seeing what's really out there. Are there illegal additions? Is this gonna need to be sold as cash? Is this gonna need to be disclosed? What other outside, you know, what other liens are on the property? They might not even know of some liens, so absolutely you wanna run that search. Also, insurance, a lot of the time they ask me if you wanna keep insurance on the property. I mean, that's up to them. The lender will usually pull insurance and put it on the property if they don't pay for insurance, and I'm talking about wind insurance, flood insurance, etc. But I always tell them that they definitely want to keep property liability insurance, injury. You know, if anybody's coming on their property and everything, they can sue them for something. You know, I definitely tell them to keep that. But as far as the other, I don't tell them not to, but you know, I tell them it's really up to them. Okay. What else? Yes.
Are you saying, giving us advice, I've got some buyers who are looking at just short sale properties.
Why?
Because they think they're getting a good deal.
Okay, and that's you need to explain
Right.
to them.
So when they're looking at short sale property, they're also saying that the short sale package is not there. Could you advise them not even look at that property?
What do you mean the short sale package isn't there?
No, they said the package complete or not.
It hasn't been submitted.
Oh, on the
Yeah,
MLS.
When I would ask them, on the MLS?
Yeah.
No, call the agent. Okay, and find out more information and everything. But I'm gonna tell you what, up front, your people shouldn't be just looking at short sales. Because guess what? They want 95 to 100% of market value. They should be looking at traditional sales. They should be looking at REOs, especially if they have cash. I mean, please explain to them up front that there's a lot of good deals out there. Everything on the market today is a good deal because it's at least 50% off in most cases from 2005, 2006, and some is even 70, 80% off. So try to explain to them that short sales, people always think that short sales are great deals. And they might have been a couple years ago, but today, there's lots of great deals out there that aren't short sales. Yes?
Give me a good, what do you think of last 5 days or so? I put at least 4 or 5 different offers, and the other agent, major company here in Boca, and they have a lot of listings, bank owned or foreclosure or short sale. And you put the offer with investors and come back and say no, we have multiple offers. And the same, just one company driving me crazy. How do you call first and make sure the property is still on the market?
These are short sales?
Short sale and foreclosure, both of them. And one specific company has so many of them. And what tips do you have in terms of?
They aren't cooperating with you, they aren't getting back to you,
Well,
they're telling you
I can
no?
say, well, we just got an offer, we just got an offer, we just got an offer. And this happened to me last week.
They just got an offer, okay.
But it's always the same, it's the same scenario, we just got an offer.
So what, oh, because they're keeping it on the market.
Exactly.
Okay, because what he's trying to say is they're keeping it active on the market when they shouldn't be. Because they're saying, the same company is saying that it's active, and I would just turn them into MLS.
It's just
You know, I would turn them in.
offers.
Yeah, I would just turn them into MLS. What they're trying to do is they're trying to market that property so they can get buyers on it, and they're actually keeping it active on the MLS when it's not active. So what you need to do is just, you know, tell MLS. I mean, they'll ask them, you know, and they'll threaten them, and let them know when you turn them in on MLS that, you know, they're doing this to several properties and send the properties, because you know on the MLS you can just report somebody, and you can report them on all those properties. So what the MLS will probably do is they'll probably watch it and send them a violation notice and watch it over the next week to see if it's still active and see what they've done. That's what I would do. Yes, Jillian?
Kristin, when you take a listing, do you go through the conventional process of setting the price, or you dictate the price? How is that? Because I've seen short sales that were, you know,
Okay,
REO
that's a great question. What he's asking is, let me tell you about the list price of a short sale. When I, you know, most of the time I list the short sale and I price it, okay? I don't like to have my short sale sit on the market because then people think something's wrong with it, then I don't get as much, you know. It's kind of like a traditional sale. I mean, if it's been sitting on the market forever, everybody wants to discount the property. So I try not to list it until that seller is ready. I will take a pre-dated listing for 6 months from now, but I personally will list it for what, you know, within a little bit of what I think. I'll start a little bit maybe high, but within a month I'll come down to market value. What you need to tell your buyers though, is that price that's on the MLS means 0, okay? It could be too high in a short sale only. It could be too low. It doesn't matter what that price is. It matters what the lender accepts. And the lender's going to accept, in most cases, between 95% of market value and 100% of market value, unless something's wrong with the property, because they can get it and they know it. So you, if you're looking to buy properties that are on the market, or your buyer or whatever, you need to let them know that that price doesn't mean anything. That realtor can list it for whatever they want in a short sale. So some, I see, there's one, he's like number 4 agent in Palm Beach County, and he lists it under because he wants a quick offer, but they're never going to accept it because he just wants to see what the bank's going to do.
And then they raise the price.
And then they raise the price.
And then you
and different people have different strategic, and it's legal to do that. I mean, you can do that. So you don't ever want to take what the price is.
But let me follow up on that. If the bank's market value, does that take into consideration what's going on in the neighborhood?
Oh yeah.
REOs as well?
Absolutely.
But some of them, they don't seem to have a bearing.
They used to not. They used to not. And if that is the, what used to happen is they would want, even though it was a short sale, they didn't want any other short sales or any other REOs in the neighborhood, okay? But now, today, they have, I mean, if that's what the neighborhood is, which a lot of neighborhoods are, they absolutely take that into consideration. And it depends on the REO. I mean, you know, as we know, REO foreclosed to homes. You know, some of them are gutted and things like that. Well, those they shouldn't consider. You know, some of them are in just horrible condition. No. But do they take a lot of the short sales and stuff and the good REOs? Yeah, absolutely. Today they do. Again, another change in the market. Yes.
Okay, example, $100,000 home, okay? There's a second mortgage, good sizable second mortgage on it. If it comes back, let's say the offer comes through at $90,000, okay? And then the BPO comes through at $95,000. So the bank's gonna come back at 95, right? The first mortgagee, the lender, the first mortgage bank is going to offer, is he going to pay off the second mortgage out of that 95? Or is a buyer gonna have to come up with extra money on top of that?
If you know what I mean, if they want the difference, if they want more of a price.
Let's say the second mortgagee needs $5,000.
Okay, that's either going to come from the buyer, the seller, the agents. That's going to be negotiated from somebody.
It's not going to come from
well, the first is going to.
95.
Well, the first is going to give the second whatever it is, 2,000, 3,000, 6%, whatever the amount is, to the
First.
second.
First is going to give that, not the buyer. The buyer's not
Well,
going to.
the first is gonna give the second something, depending on how much, it just depends, okay? If the second wants more and the first agrees to it, as long as it's on the HUD, it has to be legal, there's no sidetracking, and a lot of the seconds want you to pay outside. No, 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 okay, outside the HUD. Oh, well, your buyer can just pay me $5,000 outside the HUD, that is illegal. And it's illegal that the second's even asking you to do that, okay? Everything that has to be done has to be on the HUD. Now, if the first agrees that the second can get, let's say the first will pay the second $3,000 and the second will not do anything unless they get $5,000. If the first agrees that the second can get $5,000, but it's not coming from the first, that $2,000 is either going to come from the buyer, the seller, or the realtors. So you got to try to make it work. But you try to negotiate it first. But if they're set in stone on it, but it has to be on the HUD, it has to be legal.
Wouldn't they take maybe 90,000? Well, I guess
Just-
they're not going to take 90% on it and then.
You know what? I can tell you what. Out of all of the short sales I did, I don't think that there's ever been two that are like ever. So it just really depends. You just have to, again, it's knowing if you know.
I've got one going on right now.
Yeah.
Second's asking for $6,000. I don't think the first is coming back.
Well then, and then next time you get a buyer in, you're going to let them know that hey, the second's going to ask, so the buyer's going to probably have to come up and, you know.
Besides the comps, can you use realist tax to figure out what the property is worth?
The tax record?
Yeah.
No way.
No way?
No way.
Okay.
No way. Just like you don't ever use the tax record, you don't ever use Zillow or anything like that. The tax record, high, low, I mean, it comes in. Sometimes they're right, sometimes they're extremely high, sometimes they're extremely low. I never ever use
I noticed that.
Never. Mm-mm. Yes.
If the second mortgage asks the seller to sign a promissory note, you don't need to disclose in the HUD, right?
No.
Okay.
No, it's a promissory note.
Okay.
Go ahead, Lydia.
Sometimes that amount will be in the approval and it will, be part of their net and stuff like that.
Yeah, but
it won't
that's-
be on the,
It's not going to be on the HUD.
It won't be on the HUD.
It's just going to be approval. He's asking if it's on the HUD. Okay. Anybody else?
What about the people who approach you with, since Bill is here as a mortgage broker, as a FHA loan on a short sale? What's your feeling about that?
Well, personally, if I know the lender and I talk to the lender and I feel comfortable with the situation, I'll give you a perfect example. I'm doing a short sale right now. It's been on the market for 2 years, and you know, since our market has changed, it needs a new roof and it needs some items on it. And you know, I have now like 20 buyers interested because of the market switch, and you know, I had it on the market for a very long time with no interest. So I have Scott, who obviously, as you know, is a very good agent and closes so much, and he has a lender that he uses that closes 100% of his loans. And I know Scott is going, and it's an FHA, actually 203K, which is even harder, okay? But because I know Scott's going to get it done, I share my information that how I feel with the seller, let them make their own decision. Is it going to be every FHA loan? Would I? No. I mean, you have to talk to the lender. You have to feel comfortable with how they did the pre-approval, everything else. So that's going to be on a per person situation. But I know Scott's going to get the deal done. I know he is. I have no question in my mind he'll get the deal done. So, anybody else?
What are you, I'm just asking questions, I'm bringing stuff. What is the best package that you're waiting for from a buyer agent sending you documents? You know, do you want the proof of funds and the approval? And I mean, because we were talking a few minutes ago about being rejected from some file or REO file or short sale. Is the package good enough to be considered? You know what I mean? We all know that those companies are receiving multiple offers, and if the package is, not clean and you don't have everything.
You know, it's hard. I mean, it's a lot harder, obviously, today to get a mortgage than it has been in a long time. So you, as the listing agent, have a lot of making sure to talk to that lender. Did they actually pull their credit report? Did they actually look at the tax returns? Did they do a full approval? Okay, did they do a full approval? Because if they didn't, we never accept them. A lot of the time these people get, you know, online, they get their approval or whatever else. So it's up to you as the agent to go and to find out all this information. It's very important. So
on a short sale, the proof of funds or bank statements, the buyer's name on the contract, and if it's a corporation, it all has to match. So if you have XYZ LLC as the buyer, the proof of funds have to be in that name, the articles of incorporation have to be in that name and be included. If you have Joe Schmo signing as the buyer, but he gives you proof of funds or corporation name, it'll be rejected. It's got to all match, and I've had one fall through because they didn't want to put it in their name.
So
and
there
that's
is
what the
a
funds were and
process.
stuff like that.
There's a process, and for example, if you cannot put assign on the contract.
no, that's an
Okay, that's not
You
gonna
cannot
work.
assign the contract. And also they want the signatures. They don't want the electronic signatures in short sales. Okay, that's another thing. So don't even, because then guess what? If you send an electronic signature, does everybody send it back? No, but why even do it? Because now you have to wait. How long is it going to take? Now we have to start up again to where we're at. Don't even do it. Short sales, they do not want, overall, they do not want to see electronic signatures.
What
Yes?
about if it's an actual signature, it's actually their signature, not just the handwritten? I'm not just the type. The signature is there. In
If it's
Adobe,
there-
in Adobe, you can have the option to do both. Digital signature or digital signature with the actual print.
It needs to be the actual signature. So
As
if
long as the
that's,
actual signature is
it
fine.
needs to be the actual signature, yes.
Also, you need to, whatever contract you use, make sure you use the right addendum that goes with it. New FAR has new riders, they're lettered, A, B, C. Short sale addendum is G, 2 pages. The other one is an FAR, it does not go with that contract.
That's what we
I beg you, please.
Well,
And
let
if
me-
it has an HOA or condo, you need that
I-
rider too. I can't tell you how many contracts.
I'll tell you what, I mess it up all the time because that kind of stuff is really important to me of the addendums and all that. I mean, all that paperwork drives me absolutely crazy. So what I do is when I get a contract in, I send it to her immediately and she corrects it all for me. Because I have no idea of all those contracts and stuff. No clue. Yes?
Can you include in the contract that this contract, if you're representing the seller, is contingent upon the bank releasing
Yeah, you can try it.
your seller?
Yes, absolutely, you can try to get them to release the deficiency judgment, is what he's asking. Now, I always tell the seller up front, that's not always going to happen, okay? And there's going to be a lot of the time that doesn't happen. It used to happen more. There's some banks that it doesn't matter what you do, they want to have that time to be able to come back to them and look at it. However, sometimes if they pay an amount of money, they will release them with the deficiency judgment. But you need to explain that to the seller up front, that, you know, for them to just automatically, they aren't going to always release you of the deficiency judgment. Now, they also, because we've talked to a lot of people that are in charge of negotiations and not in charge of the big banks, Bank of America, Chase, Wells, different companies, they're planning, and I don't tell them this because, again, I don't want to be legal, but they are planning to go back after people that don't have any money. They just want to be able to look at their situation, and they don't have time right now. They're overwhelmed with everything else that's going on. They're not putting people on the streets. But guess what? If you're sitting there and you make hundreds of thousands of dollars and you have a lot of money in the bank, they want to have that opportunity to go back after you. Now, the only way to ever get rid of that deficiency judgment when it comes after you is by bankruptcy, okay? And if you haven't claimed bankruptcy in the last 7 years. So, I mean, if it ever did come back after them for whatever reason, and they really could claim bankruptcy because they don't have any money, they can get, you know, they can claim bankruptcy at that time to include the house.
But also, there's a law in the state legislature that's passing, moving through, it hasn't been passed yet, to move that 5 years up to 1 year.
Yeah,
So
that's a great.
maybe